Because also, if I'm gonna rob you, I'm gonna rob you of the 30,000 you flashed at me while we were in the club, not the 300 you handed me.
All right, here we are together once again on Money Showers. Today on the couch we have none other than Cherry Bomb. How you doing today?
I'm doing real good. I actually got a good night's sleep for once.
Okay, that's good. That's good. For those who may not know you, maybe give a brief introduction about yourself.
I am Cherry Bomb. I have been dancing for about 5 years. I've worked mostly in Minneapolis. I have done some spicy content on the Blue and White website, so you can definitely find me there. But I have been mostly just a pole princess and living my best life inside of the midnight ballerina space.
Okay, okay. All right. Before we get into that, obviously we're going to talk about your life and how you got into dancing, but born and raised, where are you from?
So I was born in the Chicagoland area. I grew up there until I was 16, and then I moved to Minnesota, like 6 months after my 16th birthday. And then I lived in Minnesota for the most of the time. I grew up super conservative, Christian, very about loving yourself. And then in 2021, I had actually met this woman who was a lady of the night, and I was her personal assistant. I ran her books. I made sure she got up on time, met her appointments, and she had told me time and time and time and time and time again I'd be a great dancer. And I was like, no, I just left the church I was in that was really I don't want to be there. Oh, I probably shouldn't swear. But then she got me drunk on margaritas one night.
And how old were you at this time?
I was 23, 22,
Okay.
23.
All right.
I was 22, 23, got me drunk on margaritas one night, threw an outfit so hard at my face that it gave me a black eye, and went get in the truck. I'm buying her first pair of shoes, drove me out to Wisconsin and made me audition, and I just fell in love with it. I've never felt more accepted and more like I can be myself and just who I am than the second I stepped foot on the stage. I actually still have my first tip framed in a little picture frame. It is $7. It is lovely. My first little stage set. They are all $2 bills and one single dollar bill.
Nice, nice. Okay. So you mentioned you grew up very conversations that we've had. It was like you said. I think the way you described it was like a cult.
Yes, it was very cult-like. I grew up extremely religious. I grew up in a household where the dad was the man was the center of the household. I had where I was allowed to go to school. So I did go to college, but where you went to school was chosen. You had to go to somewhere where they had a college campus, who you were allowed to date, whether you were allowed to break up with them. You obviously couldn't have any relations before marriage. It was extremely debilitating and really hard for me as a very, very bisexual woman. And I grew up in a very stifled environment where no matter what I was told, I was doing it wrong. The amount of times when I finally did leave my parents' house, I was still living with disciples that were in the church and everything. And the amount of times I got sat down, it was a weekly thing of let's sit Cherry down and tell her everything she's doing wrong. When in reality, I was just extremely abused and had a terrible mental health. My childhood in the house was extremely abusive. My dad was not great. And I found the church. Got out of it, was raised in it, got out of it because that was the only way I thought I could leave. I was going to be going to school in Alaska to try and get away, but I couldn't even think of a way to get out of it there because there was a church out there, and my roommates had 5150'd me, which was the only good thing they ever did for me. And I got out, and one of my best friends, I had met them 2 or 3 days after that, and they were the first people to be like, you could just leave. And I did, and it was really scary. I lost every single person I'd ever known. I lost all of my support system, which they weren't very supportive anyway, but I lost everything. And I had moved in with somebody that I met on a kink website, which, lovely lady. Shout out to her. Honestly, absolutely fantastic. Have nothing bad to say about her, but moved in with her. And that's how I met the lady of the night that I ended up being a personal assistant for. But that friend that like had just informed me of that, it never occurred to me, had completely changed my life. And I'm so glad, because I love this industry and I love the life I have created since leaving. Because I would have been a preacher's wife, and honestly, not would have been very great.
So when you decided to finally leave, I would imagine that that caused some drama with your family.
Yes and no. I didn't talk to my father for about almost a year, but that was more so not me leaving the church. That was the fact that he had tried to harm my dog. But
Because he was mad at you?
yeah, because he was mad at me because I tried to move back home. And my dog is a very big dog, and my dad had been feeding him table scraps from like the table, and so my dog was begging, and I very specifically don't feed my dog that. So he got mad at my dog for begging for food that my dad gave him. But I very much like, oh, I lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah, no, like when I left and everything, I didn't realize that it was a little bit of a cult. Two of my younger siblings had never gotten really into the whole thing, so it wasn't a huge family drama. It was a lot more of my like social network drama of being dropped. But when I had left, I went to leave all the Facebook group chats and all that and everything. And the first thing when I typed up the name of the organization I had been in was blank cult recovery. And I was like, oh, what? And then I went on YouTube and kept searching. And there was a whole ABC 2020 documentary about it. There was a bunch of little articles and stuff. And as I've gotten further and further away from it, I've realized how much deprogramming I've had to do throughout the years. And like I still, every single day, no matter what, wake up and like I have to do my morning a certain way. And I'm like, everybody is safe from the rapture because I did it this way, because I have a little bit of religious OCD.
Okay. So when you were, before you moved to Minnesota, I assume you were in the church
Yes.
down there, and then you
Yes.
moved up here. Why did your family move to Minnesota?
My dad had lost his job and he got a job up here. And honestly, I genuinely believe, while like I love Minnesota and I love the life I've created here, I don't think I would have continued in the cult much past 16 if we hadn't moved, because I had a really good outside support system. And then when I moved up here, I did online school, but my dad had lost his job in Illinois and then had gotten a job with the state up here. And so then we were moved up here, and then here I was.
Okay. All right. So you mentioned, meeting your friend on the website, and then that friend introduced you to the lady of the night,
Yes.
who then got you into dancing. So got you drunk on margaritas, took you to
Yeah,
Wisconsin.
I don't drink tequila to this day. I was so drunk.
Talk about, oh, BB said that's a lie.
Well, okay, sometimes BB buys me a shot, and if she makes it to the bar first, I will drink the shot of tequila.
Okay. All right. And you guys just came from the bar. You did some
Yes,
shots.
we did.
But
I
it
did a
was not
shot of
tequila.
Tito's.
Oh, Tito's. Okay. All right. So first audition. You've never done any type of pole dancing ever before.
I had done ballet. I had been a ballerina for years, but I've done no sort of pole dancing. I actually have a video of the first time I touched a pole. It is rough. No one will see that ever. But no, she walked me in, and she knew the manager at the time, and she didn't work there very often. She mostly made her money in other ways, but she got me up there, and I don't think I looked very good. I know how to move my body a little bit. Ballet did help a bit. I made some money, and I just like immediately fell in love with the freedom it gave me. I personally didn't think I was very attractive before I started dancing, and dancing made me realize that I had my own power, that I am hot that I'm hot and everything, and that I look good, and that like I can do this, that I can do it on my own. It was like, my life was very dark after I left the church, and dancing gave me a light to realize that, no, I can do this. There are people that care about me. There are amazing girls who are just in the same struggle as I am, that are all here to just be the best we can be and maybe take advantage of some men along the way.
Okay, so that first audition, you get up there, you've never done it before. I assume you were pretty nervous.
Oh, so nervous.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to throw up. I have so much anxiety in my body all the time. And that first time up on that stage, there was about 2 people in the entire club. It was a Tuesday night, dead as hell. Not much was happening, super nothing. And I thought I was going to puke. I was shaking. I went up there. I don't remember my audition at all. Fully blacked out. Apparently it was good enough to be hired. I think honestly it was my sparkling personality that really got it more so. And like, I have a lot of love for the first club I worked at. Like, there was a lot of things that were wrong with that first club. It was a little shaky, but the management I had there was so amazing. Like, that man really helped me realize who I was. And like, and I just like, I fell in love with it. And after I got down, I worked my shift, and it was a fun time. People did end up coming in, so I did make some money, thank goodness. But yeah, that first time on stage, it wasn't until like 6 months later I stopped getting nervous getting on stage.
Okay. All right. So audition, got hired that first night, started working that night, people came in. Do you remember about how much you made that first night?
I made $444.
Okay.
Angel numbers, which is what told me I should do this.
Yeah. So after you made that, you're like, all right, I can do this. Now,
Yeah.
What other jobs had you had up to that point?
I had been a nanny. I had worked at GameStop. I had worked at Victoria's Secret. I had worked at a family fun center and ran go-karts. I had worked at a catering company. I'd done a lot of things.
Yeah, so you've had your fair share of jobs prior to dancing.
Yeah.
But I assume you didn't really love any of those.
No. I did like nannying, but I don't really like kids. So like, there was that. But like, yeah, I didn't love them. It didn't feel like it was something I was supposed to be. And I was going to school at the time and everything. And everything I went to school for never felt like me. It never felt like I could be who I wanted to be. I was still putting a mask on of who I was supposed to be every single day.
Okay. But you said when you got on that stage, you finally felt free.
Yeah. I touched that pole for the first time, and it was like this entire weight of expectations of who I was supposed to be just lifted from me. I was there is no expectation. The nice thing about dancing is they pay you to learn. Like, there's no, like, I don't have to be anyone but who I am. And it was the most freeing I've ever felt, because I've spent my entire life trying to fit my huge personality into a very tiny mold. And dancing was the first time that, like, me being a little obnoxious, me being a little annoying, me being good and confident with my body was a good thing and not something that I needed to tamp down.
Mm-hmm. Did you throw yourself in and start working like every night, or did you just kind of dabble with it at first?
So I started working about 3 days a week because I had started with another girl, and I didn't have a car at the time or a license. And so the club was about 45 minutes away from where we lived. So we worked about 3 to 4 days a week, but I did immediately throw myself in. I feel a little bit bad for the girl that got me into it, because I kind of very much pulled myself back from doing what she needed for help, but she very much supported everything I did. But I immediately fell into it, and I was there every weekend, 3 days a week, and it was great. I mean, up until about 3 months in, that's when I had my accident.
Okay, talk about that.
So yeah, about 3 months into me dancing, this pole was about 15 to 20 feet high. I climbed all the way to the top. I just learned how to do an invert, like how to just go upside down. And I climbed all the way to the top, went to invert, and I hit a lotion patch and fell 10 feet onto my head. And I finished my stage set for one, which is crazy, because I ended up throwing up in the garbage right in the locker room. The girl that was taking me to and from work, that we were friends, she had said she wanted to finish the night, and I definitely needed medical care for the way the rest of the story goes, but I sat in the locker room throwing up and passing out all night. The next morning, I went to the emergency room, and then I no longer remember the next 4 days because I had 150 seizures in 4 days. They over sedated me on Ativan, which is an emergency seizure med to make you calm down. And I had about 67 milligrams of Ativan in my system when I moved to the next hospital. And then I coded twice, and that stress on my brain gave me a mini stroke. So I lost the ability to walk for 3 months, which was terrifying. But the second I was able to get even a semblance of my legs under me, which is also why I just have so much gratefulness for the club I was at. Like, that manager watched my dog for the 3 weeks I was in the hospital because my roommates couldn't handle it. The second I could walk 50 feet, he was like, you can come into work. You're not doing stage. You'll sit at the bar and I'll bring customers to you. And he did that. He made sure I could make money. He, like when there was a blizzard one night, he let me take his hotel room and then slept in his car just so I could be able to work when I wasn't able to walk. And it was one of the most terrifying experiences of my life. I thought I was going to die. But once those 3 months passed and I was solidly had like my sea legs back, I was right back up on that pole.
Really? Right back to it?
Right back.
Okay.
I'm a little more careful when I feel lotion. I don't do everything now. Yeah. But I remember Cleo being a dancer at the club I'm at now, being the first person to make me go upside down again. And she was amazing with that because I was scared. I was very scared of the pole, but I wasn't going to let my fear stop me because I knew I loved pole dancing because I couldn't do ballet anymore. I couldn't do that dancing. It had ruined my knees. And I love pole dancing. That is one of those things, like, stage is something I do love. And like, I wasn't going to let a little measly stroke stop me from getting back up on that pole.
Wow. Okay, so you go back, jump right back into it, and then how long were you at that first club?
I was there for about 8 months. So I started at the club I'm at now, the Red Club, on May 4th of 2022. And I was there for a while. I started leaving because I had moved, the friend I was going to the club with, we were no longer friends. And I had moved to the cities, and it was just, I didn't have a car. It was way too difficult to get out there. And I would sometimes occasionally go out there, but that club had started going a little downhill and everything. And then I had messaged a girl that I had worked with at my first club being like, hey, what clubs in the cities do you recommend? And she recommended the club I'm at now. And I auditioned, and it was not necessarily night and day, but it was a much more stable and classy environment, which I appreciated because, like, while the management and the girls that I worked with at the first club I worked with were great, the clientele were awful. Like, there was a time my manager had to pull a gun on somebody for me, and love him for doing that. Hated the instance I was in.
Can you talk about it?
Yeah, so it was one of my first couple VIP rooms I had sold. And that club had beds for like the VIP. And mind you, also the beds were like just curtained off. They were cameraed. The bouncer could see everything. And this guy, I was on top of him, and he flipped me over and held me down. And I think, I was literally like 3 weeks into dancing, not very far in. And all I remember is not even 30 seconds passing and just hearing a ch-ch, you want to let her go? Which, glad my manager had my back. Not great that it happened. And honestly, I worked both clubs for a while. I would do the Red Club during the day, and then I would go with one of my friends for the night shift at my other club. And then I left about 2 weeks before they got swatted. So, wahoo, love that. But it was that entire club. There was a lot of instances where it was just like the people who would come in because it was a hole in the wall, middle of nowhere club, and like people weren't necessarily paying a ton of attention, that like things would just happen constantly. And I I also wanted to make a little bit more money. I wasn't doing terrible there, but I knew downtown was kind of where I was at. I was moving to where in the place I am currently and everything, and I didn't want to have to drive 50 minutes to go to work. I was fine going downtown.
Yep, yep. So the club you're in now, that's only your second club.
Technically my third. I worked at another one that's now closed.
Okay.
It's the one that closed earlier this year. I worked there for 3 months. Hated the pole, that they didn't have a pole. And I was like, what am I supposed to do with my hands on the ground? I can't just twerk the entire time. And then I've worked also in Chicago, and then I've worked also in Kansas City, but the Kansas City was recently. But mostly, like, but up until then, like, yeah, the club I'm in now is my home and was like the third club I had ever worked at.
Okay. Were you nervous about taking the step into the club that you're in now? Because it is, I assume it's a bigger club, obviously, like you said, different type of clientele.
Oh, yeah, no, I threw up before my audition. Fully. So anxious. I was so nervous, and but I went up there, I killed the audition, and our daytime manager had like taken me downstairs, was like, oh, what do you want your name to be? And my first name was Harley. And I was like, oh, that's what I'm gonna just go by, because that's what I've been going by. Didn't really necessarily like the name, it didn't resonate with me, but he was like, oh, we already have one. Which, funny thing is, the girl that was named that, saw her the day I auditioned, had not seen her ever since. We now have a different Harley, but like that was the one day, and I was like, thank God she showed up for that one shift, because I love Cherry Bomb, but the daytime manager actually helped me pick my name.
Yeah, so how did that come about?
I auditioned to Cherry Bomb by the Runaways. So I auditioned to it, and I got off, and he was like, well, you could be Cherry Wang, and my first response was, I'm not Asian. That's what people are going to expect. Like, that's what people are going to expect. Like, at the end of the day, yeah, Wang is, like, he was like, but Wang means penis. And I was like, yeah, but if you are a drunk man in a club at night and you hear Cherry Wang to the stage and you see my white self walk up, that's not really what you're expecting. And he was like, well, you could be Cherry Bomb. And I was like, wait, really? I can do Cherry Bomb? And I love it. Like, it is so much of, like, who I am, and it is now my brand. Like, yeah, and thank God for him. Yeah, there's a ton of cherries. I think there might be 2 other Cherry Bombs in the United States. Maybe. I'm not going to say there isn't. But, like, there are a ton of cherries, but no one's Cherry Bomb.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. All right. So Cherry Bomb, your name is solidified in the system. You start that day when you did the audition?
So I had forgotten my social security card. Okay. So I started the next day, and no, actually, wait. I called my sibling who was at my home with my parents' house and went, hey, can you send me a picture of my social security card? Still didn't start till the next day. I did not work that first shift. But I had them email a picture of my card so I could start, because I was like, I don't know how I'm going to ask my parents for my social when I can't tell them what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you start the next day. What was that first shift like? So it was day shift.
It was day shift. Okay. I did day shift there for almost an entire year before I even tried a night shift. Honestly, it was great. I spent most of the time, like, I would talk to people or just keeping to myself. I watched mostly of, like, the other girls that were there and just what they were doing, because I still felt like such a newbie, because I was. Like, yeah, I had about 8 months of dancing experiences, but I didn't know how a gentleman's club operated. I knew how my hole in the wall one did, but the gentleman's club I didn't know. I worked it. I had a really good time. Like, I was able to meet, like, some of the regulars that came in, and I got some dances, and it was a good shift. It was very, like, lonely at the start, but then I ended up making, like, really good friends, but that's mostly of my own part of being lonely, because I sat back and watched. I wanted to, like, choose wisely who I talked to, but I also wanted to learn from people. Like, if I just sat there and watched them, then I'd learn.
Yeah.
I'd figure it out.
Yep. You mentioned, obviously, the difference in the clientele. What was the difference with the dancers, though?
They were a lot more emotionally aware.
At the new club.
At the new club.
Mm-hmm.
At the one I'm at currently. They were a lot more emotionally aware. They were a lot less, like, aggressive in a lot of the ways, like with other girls. Like, I felt like when I first entered there, because my life had felt like it was falling apart and everything, they all looked so put together, which I'm friends with some of the girls, and none of us have our life put together. I don't currently. But, like, it was a very nice switch up of seeing girls that actually wanted other girls to succeed. Because, like, I had made some friends at my first club, and, like, one of them I'm still friends with to this day, but when I entered the club, like the new club and everything, it was like a whole night and day about seeing girls actually want girls to succeed. Seeing girls be like, no, you should go get that room. You should go do that dance. Go talk to that guy I just talked to. And like actually cheering girls on. Just because like I'm not making money doesn't mean you shouldn't. And it was a very nice culture change to instead of having like if I had talked to somebody after another girl and ended up getting a room, then it was my fault somehow, when that's not how it works.
Now, you mentioned earlier that, one of your decisions moving to the new club was you wanted to make more money. Did you start making more money?
Yes. I didn't do terrible at the other one, but like it wasn't great. I did, like I think my first like day shift that I had worked at that club, I had made a rack, and that was insane. Like the one time I had made that amount at like my other club was my birthday, like 2 weeks after I had done that at the other club, at the Red Club and everything. And like it was nice, and like the clientele were just much nicer, and like yeah, there were still issues and like weirdos still happen, but day shift was nice, and it was a nice learning experience because the people who came in, coming on their lunch break, they know what they want to do. They're going to do what they want to do, and then they're going to get out. But I feel like it's just more of a mindset the dancer has to be in, because I do both days and nights still now. Like I tend to work doubles when I work and everything, and I have to like go through a full brain shift, because I can get a man on day shift to spend money on me right away, and I can get a man on night shift to spend money on me right away. But it is about the approach, and I feel like lately more so day shift it's a lot of talk. You got to be able to talk, you got to be able to have the conversation, but like there has been more of the like not necessarily knowing what they're doing, but they usually know if they're going to do a dance. If they're going to do a room, you can get that quickly. Night shift, it's a little more like, oh my God, you're so funny. And then they're like, okay, I guess I'll spend a bunch of money on you. Whereas like day shift, it's me going, so are you going to do it or not? After we do a drink and after we like talk. But like I will say with like the big difference between night and day shift is day shift, I have noticed like if I talk to somebody for about 30 minutes, the likelihood of him spending a bunch of money on me is greater. Versus on night shift, you get 15 minutes, and if you're not spending, like, and that is a long time. You get like 2 songs. And if you're not spending money on me now, I gotta walk away and come back to you later, because if I spend time with you, you're not going to do anything.
By the time you got to the new club, the club you're at now, were you already really good on stage and on pole?
Yeah, I had been like kinda like good. Like I think I was probably one of the better ones at like the club I was at and everything, and I did have some good like tricks and everything, and I wasn't bad necessarily, but honestly this dancer Cleo is who really made my pole journey flourish, because she saw me up there one day and went, we're not doing that, come on, you can do that better, and just bullied me ruthlessly to get better. And she's one of my best friends, and I thank her for that. We actually bonded over weed and taxes.
Yeah, big shout out to Cleo. Yeah, so it sounds like you kind of had to elevate a little bit because you were around a higher quality dancer.
Yes, and with like day shift, like I wasn't bad on the pole, but I definitely had a lot of room for improvement. And like day shift was nice because on day shift there's a lot of times where there's more downtime than night shift. There just is. And we would, when it was slow for an hour while there was just no one there and we were waiting for the next wave to come in, we'd all just go up on stage and teach each other tricks and like push each other to like be the best we could be. And it was great. It was a really nice sense of community. And like it still exists on day shift. I just do it slightly less.
Yeah. Yeah, because I would say when Courtney was here, we talked about this, but there are certain girls, because when you check in, your name pops up on the screen in the DJ booth, and then I kind of put the order together. And there are certain girls where other girls will be like, please don't put me after so and so. So there's like the top five. So I say it's Cleo, Courtney, Kira, Brooklyn, and Cherry Bomb.
Correct.
Crazy.
Yeah. That's it. That's top
I
five.
guess it's a good thing I barely do stage anymore. But yeah, no, I guess I have heard that a couple times where girls are like, I don't want to go up after you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know. For me, like, because people be like, oh, you go up after Courtney or Cleo or Brooklyn or Kira all the time. And I'm like, honestly, the only times I tell you guys not to put me up is when I don't have the energy. Because at the end of the day, like, I know I am nowhere near as good as Brooklyn. I know she is the best dancer I've ever seen, and that is fine. I also know if I'm gonna go up, I'm gonna do my best because I watch her and it inspires me. And like, that's for me, like what I tell like baby dancers, because they're like, because I've never owned a pole. I've never taken a class. I've only learned on that club stage. I have never, I've never done anything outside of the club. And so when girls are like, oh, I'll never be as good as you, I'm like, yes, you can. I became as good as I am because I sat down and I watched the girls I liked on stage. I saw the way their hands were. I saw their movements. And then when I would go up there, I'd try it. And sometimes I'd land on my face. But pity tips exist. I've gotten pity rooms before. But like I would try and I would just push myself. And so for me, when I go up after the other girls, which I am so honored to be included in that list because I don't feel like I am as good as them, it pushes me to be better. I watch the tricks. Like I learn now all the time. Like I've learned with lap dances where I'll see a girl do a move on a guy and I'm like, oh, that I might have to steal that one. That would look good. Like, or a pole trick where I'm like, oh, I've never considered doing it that way. And if I can do it, and I've been nominated for a pole award. I have done a competition. I just you just have to go up and do it. You can't be afraid to fall. You're going to fall on your face. You just have to learn how to fall pretty.
Okay, so like you said, you came to the new club. You're there getting yourself established, meeting some new girls, meeting the clientele. How long did it take you to start? Did any of your regulars follow you to the new club, or did you have to start over?
No, they did not follow me. I also didn't really have regulars at the other one besides this one priest. Kind of fine with him not following me over because all we did was he'd get an hour and we'd argue about the Bible and I'd make him cry because I knew more than him. But none of my regulars really followed me there, but I built up a bit of a regular kind of thing on day shift. Honestly, I didn't realize how many I had until I went back to day shift this last 6 months, and they were like, oh, you're back. But I built them up when I was there, and day shift, it was a lot of just me relearning my game and figuring it out. And yeah, and now I have some regulars, but I'm also terrible at keeping them. I keep them for about 6 months. I've had maybe 3 or 4 regulars I've kept for years, but usually about 6 months to maybe a year, and then they move on to someone else, and that's okay. That's the one thing I tell girls all the time is regulars come and go. Yes, you might have that one regular who sticks with you through years, but most of the time, a regular's lifespan is 6 months to a year. And he's going to eventually find someone that isn't you, that is either younger, has their hair done a different way, a different whatever, and they're going to move on, and that's okay because you'll find another one. And that's just the lifespan of it, because eventually they kind of realize that maybe it won't go anywhere.
I was going to say, do you think that's what the deciding factor is? They think it's going to be more, but then it's...
With me, probably.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you ever had to cut regulars off?
Yes, I have broken up with one regular I can very, very distinctly remember that I broke up with him. He still stares at me from the corner of the club, very sad and dejected. But his problem, the reason I broke up with him was because he started lying on my name. He started just spreading business that didn't even happen. He would talk to me about me to other girls, and he had said that I had that I also had robbed him, that I just was crazy and everything. Mind you, saw this guy in the club. That was it. And he like kept talking about me, and so I ghosted him at first. And he kept talking about me. And at one point he dragged me over like while I was at the club. And he was like, why aren't you talking to me? Blah, 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 blah. I was like, because you don't know how to shut up. You are talking about things that didn't happen. Because also, if I'm going to rob you, I'm going to rob you of the 30,000 you flashed at me while we were in the club, not the 300 you handed me. I'm going to do it. I'm going to go all the way. And then he would just kept talking, and I was like, no, I don't want to be around you. You cause me so much anxiety. I know you're going to just start blabbing about whatever. Whether we did it or not doesn't even seem to matter for you. You just like causing drama between girls. Because I would have some of my friends come up to me and be like, hey, he's saying this about you. And I know that's not true, but I just want you to know he's saying this about you. And everything. And then another regular that I cut off actually got full body thrown out by our general manager. Honestly, very funny. He had me, a mistress, and his wife. He was dealing with a little crazy. He would come into the club, wouldn't do a room, but would pay me the amount of a room. And at one point he gave me the gift that was meant for the mistress, because he would give us gifts. Wife's the most expensive, then the mistress, then me. He gave me a bracelet that was meant for the mistress, the gift that was meant for the wife, and the wife the gift that was meant for me. So then the wife found out. I am a smart cookie, and I always make sure if you're giving me jewelry or anything expensive, you're giving it to me on camera, just to make sure, mostly because of this incident, but really glad I made him give it to me on camera. But he came in every single day for a week. And would just loudly be like, where's Cherry? Where's Cherry? And like yell at other customers about me, yell at girls about me. And it was like, it all came to head on a Saturday night. I was working and I saw him out the corner of my eye. So I bolt into the DJ booth and I'm hiding there while he is screeching about where I am. He tries to pick up one of the chairs and throws it. Our general manager, oh, my alarm's going off. Time to take my meds. But he is screaming, and our general manager walks up and everything. And I watch this dude go to throw a punch at him, fully miss. General manager does not move. He's standing here, goes right here. And then he picks him up by the collar of his shirt, belt loops of his pants, and walks him out the club and throws him out the door.
Wow. So he was mad because he wanted the bracelet back?
Because his wife found out he had a mistress and a dancer. Which one, if you can't keep them all straight, maybe don't keep them that many people. I also didn't have the bracelet on me that night, so no way to give it back.
Yeah. I feel like you've gotten a lot of different gifts, though, over the years. What are some other things that customers brought into the club for you?
I have been given really weird one. I've been given a Ziploc baggie full of 25 shotgun shells in case I needed it. Did not get me a shotgun. I don't own a shotgun. I guess I just have the shells. I've had, the normal of like flowers and everything. People keep tipping me in little Jesus statues, which I'm really mad about, because out of any dancer, I'm like, I have way too much religious trauma for this. Just give me money. The other week, someone gave me as a tip the "That's My Opinion" sticker, because I kept asking him for a dance, and he didn't want to get one, which is fine. I was being a little annoying in this instance, but he pulled it out and went, well, I mean, that's your opinion. I'm like, you know what? You're not wrong. That's really funny. I have gotten a couch.
A couch? Okay.
Yeah, my couch in my studio. I got that from a customer. A couple purses, some normal stuff. Honestly, I would really love some creative gifts. Like, get a little wild with it. Get a little crazy. I don't know. Give me a car.
You mentioned going to dance in Chicago and Kansas City. Mm-hmm. What was the club culture down there like?
I didn't really like Chicago, but I'm willing to give it another chance. I did the sister club of the one we have up here. Didn't really like the vibes, but apparently, according to some people, not the best one. Kansas City, I ended up having an allergic reaction after night 1 to a locust, so I had to drive back. So I can't give an ample review of that one. The night I worked there was fine. I went to a predominantly like people of color club, so I was the only really white girl there. But I had fun. I had a blast. Spun around the pole a little bit, drank some shots.
Yeah.
Went to get Waffle House after.
Okay. So you would go back to Kansas City?
I would. I'd want to try a couple of the other clubs than the one I was at. Like, I really liked that. Like, I didn't mind that one. But they also have a really weird hiring process at a lot of the clubs. Like, the one I got hired at did an actual audition and the normal process that happens. Whereas the other ones were like, you have to put in an like application, like, and it's an actual job. And so I probably won't work in Kansas City again. But I will go back to Chicago. I'd like to try some of the other clubs that are down there just to like see, because it'd be nice when I go to visit friends and like family and stuff to be able to go and work, because it's a big enough city. I'm not going to run into anyone I know.
Yeah. Speaking of that, like, does your family now know what you do?
So my younger siblings do, and they keep a very tight-lipped secret. My parents think I'm a bartender. Luckily, they're not online at all, and they don't go outside at all, so they've never even asked where I work. My dad definitely would have a problem with it, and I have a bit of an inheritance on the line, and so I'm just not gonna f that up. He's also giving me like a down payment for a house, so he don't even know what I can do. When he eventually passes, I might tell my mom, because she's definitely gonna be one of those people who's like, "That's cool for you. Glad you like it." I think she might have a semblance of an idea of what I do. But she doesn't ask me, because if she asked me, and I would tell her the truth, because I'm not going to lie. And then she'd tell my dad, and then it would be a whole thing.
What did your siblings think about it?
My little sister loves the tea and what happens at my job. We sit down and get coffee. She's like, okay, so what's the drama that happened? What did customers do? She lives for it. My younger brothers, they would just rather hear nothing. They prefer that as the answer, of no thanks, I'm good, you do that, lovely. But every single one of my siblings has dropped me off for work before and everything. Like, they support me. My brothers just don't want to hear about it.
Okay.
Which I can respect that. Yeah, no, it's like, they're like, I know what you do. I don't want to see anything, don't want to talk about it, we're good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Talk a little bit about, you mentioned at your introduction, right? Mm-hmm. When did you get into that?
I got into that before I started dancing. So I started that almost right after I right when I started working for the Lady of the Night and everything. I had started that. I knew it existed. I knew like what it was, and I was like, oh, let me just see. And I was trying to do a self-discovery of my own body. I did not do any collabs with anybody until about, I think, a year later. Which, funny thing about one of my first collabs was when I first started dancing at the first club I was at, this girl walked in and I was like, I am going to with her one day. Took me 2 years.
But you got it done.
Oh, 100%. We made some content together. She is one of it was really funny because I split and did mostly the dancing things, and then she went for the OF, and we just kind of split up, and like she does amazing and everything. But like I had started it, and then I saw her and I was like, and I did. And it was very great. It was fantastic. We made like 3 videos together.
Okay. All right. Do you enjoy dancing more than?
Yes, I do. I think I like the aspect of actually being able to talk to people and every shift being different and being able to get out of my house. Whereas like with like the like hard part of it is actually like you have to do all the back end stuff. You have to film the content. You have to make sure you keep up on it in the log, and it feels very lonely at times. Whereas like with dancing, there is that sense of community. When I walk into the club, there's 10 to 50 girls that are all doing the same thing I'm doing and who can like share with like both the highs and lows of it. Whereas with a lot of it does feel very lonely for me, and it could be really hard to like keep up on it. So like I have one, it exists, it's there, and I post on it like periodically, but I post on it when my mental health's good and when I'm feeling good and when I film the content and everything. But I definitely focus way more on the dancing aspect because I like it more. I like the culture of stepping into that building and being home.
Yeah. What are some strange requests that you've gotten?
I'm gonna hit my and then I will
Yeah, go ahead.
that. Okay, so one of my weirdest requests, which was, well, I had one dude who wanted, he'd send me $25 for every photo of my trash I sent him.
Your trash?
My trash. Rarely was it my trash. He'd send me 50 if there was a in it. And then to it. Another one, I did ship off one of my. This one dude, it was from Twitter.
Talk about, wait. A guy bought your used.
Yeah, it was $300. So FYI, if you want one, it's $300. You little freak. You know who you are. You're a little freak. And the weirdest one though, which was also one of the weirdest conversations I had with one of my guy friends, it was from Twitter, and it was this dude who had wanted me to have a used and with a meet in a public park, like somewhere tucked away, have him kneel at my feet and me to just right into them and then walk away. So I told him it would be $500, gotta send a $250 down payment. We never met up. I had a in my freezer for like 3 months. I called up my guy friend, was like, hey, do you want $50? Could you for me real quick? Had a in my freezer for 3 months. He would chicken out and then like a week later be like, okay, I want to do it. 2 weeks later, I want to do it. I'm like, okay, gotta send another deposit.
But he had already sent you $250?
Yeah, but I was like, you have to send another one since you missed the other one.
Yeah.
I got almost $800 out of this man from just deposits because he didn't want to meet up, which I didn't want to do it either, but I'm like, you know, for a 5-minute thing, why not? Yeah, that was when I was a lot more into the dominatrix stuff. I haven't really dabbled into it as much lately. I've wanted to get more into it. I like it when I'm like at the club, it's nice. I like ponies around VIP.
Like, what are some crazy VIP requests that you get?
One of the weirdest I've ever gotten was a dude who was double my age. We got into VIP and he was like, hey, I'm really weird. I'm in this weird thing. And I'm expecting feet. Because usually when a guy is like gearing up to tell me how weird and freaky they are, it's feet. It's always feet. This was not feet. Would have been way fine with feet. He wanted me, mind you, he's like 50, 60 years old. Hold him like a baby while he's... And I told him how good of a boy he was, and he called me mommy. It was very uncomfortable. He did tip me like $1,000 to do it. So I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. But that was definitely one of the weirder requests I've ever gotten in VIP. I've had a lot of weird things happen to me in VIP, but that one, I said the entire time, I'm like, you could be my dad.
I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, listen, I bring out the weirdos. It might be the dyed hair and the nose ring, but apparently they just come out the woodwork.
Yeah. What is your favorite part about being a dancer?
I think the freedom and the not pants. I like not wearing pants, but I think the freedom, it gives me time to be able to do whatever I want to do. Inside the club when I am working, I get the freedom of who I get to dance with, what I get to do. I don't have to be nice to somebody if they're not being nice to me. I just gave me wings and I love it. And the not wearing pants thing, honestly, it's a really big one. I don't like wearing pants at my job.
What is your least favorite part about being a dancer?
I think my least favorite part is sometimes the way some people look at me like I'm not a person. The way that both inside the club and outside the club, the way people have interacted with me and the way they'll see me as less than human because I am doing my job and because I like my job. And the way they look at me, that like it's just like sometimes I go home and I'm like, the entire night I felt like I was like subhuman, that like I was just some object you could slip some money into and I'd do whatever you want, which isn't true. But like that is probably like the loss of body autonomy that can happen.
What is something you wish you would have known before you started, or maybe another way to word it is like, what is the biggest mistake you see new dancers making?
I think the biggest mistake I see new dancers making is moving too fast for themselves, where like they are making money, they're having a good night, and they almost get too big for their own britches and they don't want to learn. Because there have been times where like I see like a baby dancer who hasn't been here very long, where I can see her making some of the mistakes I did and some of the mistakes I didn't, and everything, where like a lot of it would be solved of just sitting and listening. Like there were so many girls that helped me through my dancing journey, both girls I'm friends with now and girls I don't talk to anymore, who both checked me when I was being a little obnoxious brat and also were like, hey, this is how you should do it, this is the game. Like when the older dancers are talking to you and everything, they're talking to you for a reason. Like I don't give out advice just to give it out. I give out advice to girls that I think one could use it, and I don't want to see go on not the same path. I think they would be amazing dancers and everything, but I think a lot of like dancers will look at it as like the fast money that it is, because it is fast money, and not take the proper precautions of making sure you get to keep that money.
Yep, yep. Speaking of fast money, I know you've mentioned before, like you have goals and like what you consider to be like a productive night. Like how much do you need to walk away with at the end of the night to make it worth your time?
It depends on the day. So I always tell myself, no matter what, so I don't get down on myself, that $300 is my minimum. Because $300 means I've made more in one night than most people make at their 8-hour job in the city I live in. Do I like that number? No. But that is the number that I hit where I can check myself, because I also think a lot of dancers fall into the like, oh, I didn't do as good as I could have done, I know I can make more. But it's like that is the number that I have to minimum hit, where I'm like, okay, I need to be grateful, but my preference like for numbers, it changes like every night and everything, but usually an hour room and a good tip. That for me is like I feel successful. $300, I check myself and tell myself to stop crying. But when I've had at least an hour room and a good tip, I'm like, okay, I've been successful. I did what I needed to do in there. But in a general sense, I kind of stopped looking at the numbers as much. I've looked at more so when I get home, I was like, okay, did I have fun? Did I make what I needed to make? Because there are nights where I make thousands of dollars, and there are nights where I make a couple hundred. And the club is such a gamble, you never know, because it's not necessarily up to me what I make. It is to a point, like if I don't talk to anybody, yeah, I'm not gonna make any money. But there is to a certain point, it is not up to me. It is up to the person whose wallet is in their hand, what I'm gonna make. And a lot of it is, I go home and I'm like, okay, I had a night. Whatever that number might be, whether that number is, $300, or whether sometimes I'll say I had a bad night and I've made over $1,000. And I have to be like, okay, well, did I have fun? Did I hang out with my friends? Were the customers nice to me? Like, did I have a good time at work? Then yeah, I had a good night. It doesn't matter the amount I made, because no matter what, for me, I've always been able to pay my bills. I've always been able to save my money. I've always been able to like have that security. And so like for me personally, like it's like, did I have fun? And that's what I count as a successful night, whether it is me making a couple hundred or thousands of dollars. Did I have fun making that money?
What's your biggest night?
I think like $6,000.
Okay.
Yeah, I think maybe a little bit more.
Okay. Yeah. How important do you think it is for dancers? Because like you said, it is fast money. To have a goal or something that they're working towards, maybe like a down payment on a house, or like putting themselves through school, or maybe just anything, but like instead of like tricking it off on.
Well, as somebody who is trying to buy a house right now, I think the biggest important thing that helped me, especially with the fast money, I got a savings account that is not attached to my bank. There is no debit card. It takes 3 to 5 business days for me to get that money if I need it. And I stick the money in there. And then also I have a spot in my house that I stick just my ones in. Like for me personally, like I lately also don't do elastic, but like for me, like in most dancers, you make a lot of ones, but then you have a lot of, but that's not your majority of your night. Obviously, if you're a dancer who mostly makes ones and kills it that way, commend you, not me. Don't know how you do it. But I have a spot for all my ones I go to that's in my house, but I have a bank account that is not attached to my card. There is no way for me to get that money. There is nothing. Get a high yield savings account and you stick it in there. And then no matter what, I can't touch it. I can't be like, oh, I want to get this nice thing and everything. But like, I think the best thing is like, do invest. Like I have a Roth IRA. I have like the savings account I have an entire spot in my house just for excess money. Hide it from yourself. Because I think the hardest thing with being a dancer is the fact that you're like, well, I can make $1,000 tomorrow. I can make $2,000 tomorrow. I can do it this weekend. But if you don't have anything to fall back on. And most of us don't have like a family that'll help us. Most of us don't have like a support system financially that isn't inside the club. And you never know if one day the club's going to be terrible, if it's going to be bad. And you need that money. And having that savings account has allowed me for the months where like I've had a lot of health issues. I've had times where I've had to take time off work where I haven't been able to do it. And it's like, okay, I have my rent though. I'm able to take a week off. I'm able to take 2 weeks off because I have a ton of health issues that I just can't work through. And it's like, and I think like the method of thumb that I use is my first week of work, I don't spend no money. I put all that into my rent. I make sure my rent's good. And then after that, I do 25% to savings, 25% to my little other savings in my house. And then the other 50, I can kind of do what I want with it. But once I have my bills taken care of, that first week or two, I am not spending that much money. I'm not ordering out. I'm not doing anything crazy because I know I need to make $3,000 per month to pay my bills. So I'm going to make sure I get that all up. And then once it's squared away, I also hide that from myself. I hide my rent money. I don't put it in my bank account. I don't put it in my savings account. I every single month get a little tipsy and then just move it somewhere. And then I tell one friend who can tell me at the end of the month where it is, because it is so easy as a dancer to be like, well, I could just use it though, because I'll make it.
How much longer do you want to dance?
I have a vague like timeline and everything. I want to open my own club one day. That is my dream. That is my goal. I would like to, within the next 5 to 10 years, be getting to that point. But for me, dancing, it's one of those things where like, I really like doing it and I'm going to keep doing it until I don't like it anymore. Because for me, this job and the way it is, you have to like doing it. Like some semblance of yourself, if you are going to make this a career for however long that career is, whether that's a couple years or decades, you have to like doing it. You cannot do this if you don't like doing it. And for me, like, it is the day that like, I don't want to do it anymore. I'm done. But I want to be opening my own club in the next 5 to 10 years. I want to do it until I don't like it, because I feel like with especially like SW and everything, that kind of work, no matter what it is, whether it is in the club, content online, walk in the corner, there is a necessity that comes with it. And like it is one of those, like, and a lot of people fall into it with a necessity, but to be good at it and to be able to do it for a while, some part of you has to love it, even if most of you doesn't. And I luckily, all parts of me love it. But like, I'm going to keep doing it until I don't like it. Or until I open up my club.
Talk a little bit about, you have one of the more interesting tattoos that I've ever seen. Talk a little bit about your tattoo and the inspiration for that.
So on this butt cheek right here, I have 5 stars, would eat here again, tattooed. I got it as a bit. I had a couple people over. at my house, and I have a sign in my kitchen that says 5 stars, would eat here again. It's a little wooden sign. One of my friends chucked it at me and went, "You should glue this to your..." I texted my tattoo artist, who also is one of my regulars at work, and was like, "Hey, I have this great idea. Let's do it." 9 a.m. next morning, hungover as maybe still a little drunk. Got it on my... It is one of my favorite tattoos I've ever gotten. It's a great conversation starter, and also true. I have yet to have any complaints. Most people do come back for a second helping.
Advice for new dancers, girls looking to get into the industry.
I think if you are questioning doing it and nervous doing it, just take the leap. I think the hardest thing about dancing is starting. It can be very scary. It can be terrifying. You're in a new environment where you now have to take your clothes off in front of people for money. And I think the biggest thing is to like take that leap, but also remember that you are in control. I think a lot of dancers fall into the aspect of like, you owe a club something, or you owe someone, or you owe a customer something because they're giving you money. But at the end of the day, the club and the environment that exists wouldn't exist without you. Men aren't going to come to the club if you're not there. And if whether it's a crappy customer or a crappy management or a crappy club, like, you have the power, and this industry has given me so much power, and it can give you too. And if you want to do it, you're able to do it. It is the one thing you don't need any experience in. You don't need to know what you're doing, and you can figure it out, and you'll learn, you'll figure it out. But remember, you are the one in control at the end of the day. It is not management, it's not the customers, it is nothing, it is you. And this industry has given me so much in learning that I am in control. And I genuinely think if this is something you want to be doing, it will teach you the control that you didn't know you had on your own life and your own story.
Any regrets? Like, if you could go back, would you do it all over again? Would you still become a dancer?
Oh, 100% I would become a dancer. Might have just become a dancer a little sooner. Like, the club I worked at was still open during all of 2020, and I started fall of 2021. Oh, I would have left the church so much sooner and worked that 2020. Oh my God, that is my biggest regret, is just not starting sooner, of not realizing how much the life before being a dancer was killing me. And other than that, like, no, I have no regrets. I have loved every instance, even the bad ones. Like, they have shaped me and taught me so much of who I am and like what I want.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Cherry Bomb, any final thoughts you want to share with the audience before we wrap up?
Well, I don't know. Remember, you're a baddie, and I'm probably hotter than you. Oh, that's fun. I mean, it helps that I'm a yapper. I just talk.